Now, I've asked myself this question 1,000 times over. Do black people have a victim mentality? Now, before I get into the answer, I must start by saying this. No human being is born with any mentality, let alone a victim mentality, right? Our mentality, which is nothing more than a collection of our belief systems, our identity, the thoughts in which we engage, or those repeated habitual thought patterns, that comes from our environment, whatever environment we're born into. And it's not just necessarily saying that you become only what your environment is, because there's plenty of examples of people who become the exact opposite of that environment. But nevertheless, that's your baseline, that's your foundation. And no baby is born with any belief, right? Belief is instilled into a child. One is told that you can do anything, one is told you can do nothing. And if both continue to perpetuate those beliefs, they will have those levels of outcomes, right? Which is why I'm even talking about this subject in the first place, because a victim mentality, the belief that I am powerless, that I'm not able to, that I am, marginalized, that I am disenfranchised, that sort of belief perpetuated becomes a life in which you have no control. Simple as that. If you do not believe you can, or you believe you can, you are right in both respects. I think that was Henry Ford or somebody like that, right? I'll give it to Henry for right now. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, both of them are correct. And so when we get into the conversation of whether or not black people have a victim mentality, I will first and foremost say no group of people is a monolith. No group of people. Contrary to what we may have believe, or people may have us believe, or individuals within these inner groups may have us believe that, black people got to stick together. We are all one, etc. That's not the truth, right? The people who I associate with, who I connect myself with, who I find kindred relationships, a kindred spirit with, it's not based upon my complexion, my color, the level of melanin they do or do not have, but instead on their value system. Simple as that. Their customs, how they show up in the world, etc. These things matter to me most. And so when we talk about quote unquote black people, I must be specific to say that there is a large part of the population that has fallen into a victimhood mentality. And this isn't reserved for any group of people necessarily. We've seen this at a global phenomenon, but there seems to be just a deep it's almost like it's a part of the identity itself is to be a victim. And we see this through the race grievance industry. And I call it what it is because that's what it is. It's an industry. It's multitudes of businesses. People make hundreds of millions, if not a trillion-dollar business at this point, right? The race grievance industry. It benefits off of that system that is always blaming racism as to why the world is operating the way it is for those who do not have the better end of a stick, or the longer end of a stick, right? If an individual happens to be black and they happen to be in a seemingly disenfranchised place, which in other words means they don't have what somebody else has, right? It must be because of racism. It has to be. And racism, again, is essentially saying there's an external factor that is causing me to be where I am. Now, I'm not going to say that racism does not exist. I'm not a racism denier, whatever it may be. But I will say that in this day and age, this modern day and age, it is one of the least important factors as to one's success. God honest truth. If you're living in a place like the United States or in the Western world, racism is one of the least important factors. There's going to be a multitude of socioeconomic factors. There's going to be a multitude of, maybe political things, etc. But even those are not the main thing, right? People love to talk about the systems of white supremacy, the system of injustice, the system of slavery, the system of this, system of that, right? There were these systems that were set in place that are now resulting in these results. In truth, there is one system that trumps every system, and that could take a person within the most systemically racist section of the world and the most systemically racist part of history, and they could break free from that. And that is the belief system. And how do I know this? Because we have a multitude of examples of individuals who were in the context of Jim Crow, and then before that, of antebellum slavery, of that democratic plantation, who were able to resist that element. They were able to break through and break free, to buy their freedom even a multitude and a host of times. As difficult, as taxing, as unfair, as unjust as it truly was, that was still the reality. There were those who could break free due to their own belief system, right? And I know y'all might hear that kitty cat back there. Don't worry. Kitty cat likes to do in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, especially when she knows that somebody's in the room. She's like, I want to go in, out, in, out, in, out, maybe. So yeah, she's going to be, she'll be there. She literally came back inside 2 minutes ago, right? Just before I started recording this video, 2 minutes before that, she was outside. She'll make her way back outside after the video. For my kitty lovers out there, I'm a cat person. I won't deny it. Love my dogs out there, but you know, cats got a home with me. But I digress. So the victim mentality that is found in the quote unquote said black community has been instilled, it's been ingrained, it's been conditioned into this group of individuals. And I say them as, you know, almost like a third party or from an outsider because I've broken free from that mentality. This isn't all black people. This is just, there's a very specific group of individuals who see themselves as being victims to life because they're black. Because I am African American, because I am African, because I am, you know, a black person in Europe or the islands or whatever it is, systemic injustice is the cause to my problems. And that negates every single personal aspect. There's no personal accountability that is taken by an individual when they're seeing the world through that lens. And I believe that is the purpose of it. Like anybody who wants to control a population should have them believe that they are unable to do anything for themselves, that they're reliant upon a system. That's why LBJ, right, the king of the Democratic Party, the god of the Democratic Party, that's why he made sure to make black folks reliant upon government. Not force, you know, but essentially coerced and incentivized. And incentives are a powerful thing for us as humans. If you're incentivized to do nothing to get more, you're likely going to do nothing to get more, right? Even if it means that you have privacy taken away, even if it means that you have certain liberties and certain freedoms taken away, some people will give up their freedom in order to get a little bit of convenience, a little bit of comfort. And so when you're able to have people trade in their autonomous ability to give up their power, personal power, because that's what they're trading really, and instead to blame the world. If I was a dictator, I would love to have a population that simply blamed everybody for their problems because those people would never mobilize. And I don't mean mobilize, but going outside with damn picket signs. I mean, those people would never actually build anything. They would never actually be productive. They would simply believe themselves to be incapable of doing such things. I would thrive as the dictator within that space. It would be easy to control the people who believe that life is simply just happening to them. I am a victim of circumstance, right? And so when you look at the entire race grievance industry and how it plays out, when you look at, you know, this continuous perpetuation of what happened to us, what happened to us, what happened to us, right? There's individuals who are so far removed from their lineage, those who went through the things that they're purporting. They don't even have a living relative anymore who was on a plantation, and they're complaining more than the people who came off the plantations. That's insane. That literally insane. You know, it's like talking about apartheid when, you know, people who came out of apartheid, they just wanted to build and do their thing. And then you were born 3, 4, 5, 6 generations after apartheid, and now you're complaining about why apartheid is the reason why you're not where you want to be. That is an insane way to live. But unfortunately, the victim mentality is nothing more than insanity in disguise, right? You find yourself in a place where you see the world as essentially just happening to you. Life is happening to you. You have no control over any situation, circumstance. You're basically self-infantilized, which means that you are made to be an infant. You're made to be a child, a baby. And the one who has control over you is the one that you blame. That's the irony in the whole thing. And we have been taught as black folk to blame. Who do we blame? The white man. Guess what? You want to empower the so-called white man, whatever that even means, whatever that character that you've created in your mind, that motif per se, that archetype. You give power to that, and guess what happens as a result? They get power. That's how you give away your power. You don't give away your power in any other way but giving that person the onus of your life. That's why I don't blame people like that. You know, I may call things out for what they are and call injustice, whatever it is. I may call BS for BS, but I'm never going to blame somebody for the outcomes of my life. Whether I succeed or fail is always going to be based upon what I did or did not do. And there's a lot of folks who are pissed off about the results they didn't get from the things they didn't do. They're going through life looking at everybody else, looking what they got and what somebody else has and what they don't have, and thinking to themselves, man, if only I was this, if only I was that. We got celebrities like Keke Palmer. If only I was white like Miley Cyrus, I would have her career. Like, girl, you have an incredible career. You can't even be grateful for that. And if you, God forbid, got yourself out of that victim mentality, you could actually create greater financial success or whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever you think you haven't gotten because you're black, right? We have the LeBron James of the world, billionaire, but yet, you know, racism. And somebody tried to debunk me with this one by saying, well, you know, somebody called him, you know, the N-word with a hard R and wrote it somewhere on his property. And to me, I say, first and foremost, who did it? Right? Because we got juicy sommeliers out here who are saying that they got, you know, ropes put around their neck and all types of stuff. This was MAGA country and it was all a hoax. So first of all, I want to know that it was real. But on top of that, all due respect, if somebody called me enter with a hard R and I'm making billions from a league that essentially all I have to do is get a ball into a hoop, like that's, you can write whatever the hell you want on my walls. Write whatever the hell you want on my, I don't give a damn. That's it. That's all that. I mean, it's one thing to have somebody, you know, trying to pew you, but somebody wrote what? Do you know the type of stuff that is written about any person in the spotlight on a daily basis, the type of stuff they're called on a daily basis? And that's going to be your, well, you know, racism has been impacting my life so deeply and racist. No, brother. You've made over $1 billion from getting a ball into a hoop. You're privileged. You're not a victim. You're not oppressed. You are privileged. You are blessed. Simple as that. And so do black folk have a victim mentality? Anybody who accepts that they don't have personal responsibility over their lives is indeed a victim or self-proclaimed personal victim, right? I'd say it's there's a difference between you've been victimized in a situation, your car got robbed, whatever it is, right? You went through a situation and it was unfair, whatever it may be. You were a child and things were done to you. You got in a situation with somebody who was crazy, bad. But there's a difference between that and going through life as I am simply a victim and wearing that as an identity. Some people go through entire life off of one situation and make that the reason to treat everybody like an asshole. And unfortunately, that's what's happened. You know, then there's this justification. Black people can't be racist. Yes, you can. At the very least, you can be an asshole. And if you're being that, then nobody wants to be around you. They didn't hire you. They didn't want you around. They didn't want you whatever because you're just an asshole. Like, it's because you might just be a racist. You know, that's why I don't subscribe to these things like, you know, black love, black excellence. I'm like, why does it have to be black? But like, why can't it just be excellence? Why does it have to be just in this small little incubated space of blackness, right? That's a perpetuation of the very same problem. That's the very same segregation that, you know, the forefathers and foremothers, like they fought to make sure they eradicated that. That's why we had the 13th Amendment. That's why we then had the Civil Rights Act. That's why we did these things. So we wouldn't have to continuously use, you know, these things in such a toxic way. But now it's inversed, it's reversed, and it's no better. As a matter of fact, it's gotten degeneratively worse, right? Because you now are in a place where you are advantaged. You are, I don't even know if that's a word, advantaged, but you are given an advantage in life. You got programs that are literally pointed towards you, DEIs and affirmative actions, whatever it is, that are giving you a leg up, and you are beating up the very same peoples that are giving you that leg up. I don't understand it. I genuinely, like, I get it because I research it. I dive deep into it, but the level of self-proclaimed victimhood is incredible to me. And again, I see demographics. So I see the last election, who voted for Kamala, you know, which means who voted for the message of racism, sexism, who voted for that? Who voted to say, look what's happening to us? Who voted on the far left leaning platform? 80% of black men and up towards to 93% black women. That's who voted. Everybody else who voted that way, the white liberals, etc., that's obvious. We know where they're at. But it's so deeply unfortunate that a peoples who are so self-reliant, self-sufficient, who even in the hardest times in their own contextual history, right? In their own, just like many others who were slaves in their contextual history. We like to pretend that it only happened here, like America invented it or something. America is built on slavery, and it's built on war and violence. Guess what? Go to any other groupings of people and find me one. Not just you going, oh, look at this little tribe in this little place. No, find me any major empire that wasn't built on that. Black, Hispanic, so-called Asian, Caucasian, whatever. Find me one that wasn't built upon some sort of violence and some sort of indentured servitude, slavery, etc. I'm not saying any of it's justified. It's ugly parts of all of our history as humans, right? But to continue to perpetuate that as a narrative as to why you are where you are in life, that's a sad excuse. And I do not envy you, because I would rather take full accountability, even if there was this deep-seated racism, and at least find success in my life, than to go through life being a victim to circumstance.
I used to be afraid of the dark, a place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2-step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3, 6, 5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.